It's you again. I'll be eating these. Last time you returned a book, I needed 3 sanitary wipes, a stiff drink, and a therapy session. So, in one moment, I will assess the damage. I'm assuming that you did not bring back the Ziploc bag that I gave you last time. You were supposed to keep the book in while not in use. Yeah, no, I didn't assume you would return that. That would be far too much to ask. Alright, so hand it over. Let's assess the damage. Alright, well, let's see what we have here. Alright, well, I'm happy to see that I don't see any dog-eared pages. It's a step in the right direction. Why does the book smell of garlic? Were you keeping this in the kitchen? I believe I specifically pointed out that this was not to be near food. Well, this is going to have to sit out for a couple days. Notice how I'm handling this book. More importantly, I want you to observe what I'm not doing. What am I not doing? I'm not licking my finger precisely. It does appear that perhaps you were licking your fingers a bit. Can't keep your fingers out of your mouth. This isn't a preschool. If you are interested in picture books, there is a children's library down the street, but we specialize in rare first edition manuscripts. I don't want to see any finger licking on any of these pages. Is that clear? Alright, well, these aren't gym socks. These are rare books. At least I'm happy to see you did not write in any of the margins this time, or highlight anything. I almost cut up your card on the spot last time. Yeah, that was quite vulgar. I still haven't really recovered from that. Alright, well, I think we can work with this. Beyond the odor, it's in pretty decent shape. Better. We're working in the right direction. I can work with this. Alright, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna stamp this book as acceptable. Don't smile. Just barely passed. But what I want you to do going forward, I'm gonna give you another one. I want the books to stay in the Ziploc bags when they're not in use. They need to be in a airtight, sunlight-free, temperature-controlled environment. Alright? Okay, I'll hand this back over to you. I don't think that you are fully grasping the gravity of what you're holding in your hands. This is not simply paper and ink and glue. Do you realize the entire transformation that goes into creating a book? So at one point, these pages, they were a tree standing in some forgotten forest, and that tree was chopped down, shaved down, and pressed until it bled pulp, and then that pulp was cleaned and bleached and rolled flat into these precise shapes that you see before you. These soft sheets destined to become pages in a story for a person to read. You can still feel the grains of the trees on the pages. I want you to feel this. Take my glove I want you to feel the soft, toothy, fibrous page. Run your hand along that. Can you feel that? That slight drag under your fingertips. That's the memory of the tree. And then we have the binding. This glue here, it has to be just the right temperature. Too hot, and it will burn the pages, but it has to be warm enough to spread. It has to be just the right specific temperature. There's a science to it. You have to heat it slowly so that it binds to every page, holding every page in its specific designated place. It clings obediently to each and every page, page after page, after page, after page. And I bet you never think about the ink. Do you realize that inside the ink there's soot, burned matter suspended in the liquid that comes back to life in the form of words? It's poetic, really. This is pure craftsmanship, and it's to be treasured and treated with the utmost respect. And so far all we've talked about is the materials that make up the book. We haven't even gotten into the wonders that lie inside. I mean, that's a magic in and of itself. These aren't just products. These are rituals. We don't just read. We commune. Because I'm sure you know that a book is more than just the materials that make it up. A good book opens doors. With just a few pages, you could be sailing across the Red Sea. You could fall in love multiple times. You could go to war. You could be in the boardroom. Be anywhere in the entire world without ever packing your bags, without ever moving a muscle, without ever leaving your home. That's the magic of it. They transport you to so many different worlds. Do you comprehend and grasp the magic that I'm holding in my hands? Books let you lead 1,000 lives, fall in love again and again and again, survive 1,000,000 heartbreaks, fight endless battles, slay dragons, travel into the depths of caves and the bottom of the ocean. See creatures, go to outer space, interact with aliens and creatures from far away lands. You do realize that, don't you? These aren't just for entertainment. These are mirrors, guides, prayers. They're transportation devices. They are sacred objects that need to be held in the highest regard and treated with the utmost care. You know, some people meditate. Some people travel. But me, I just open a book to chapter 1. I travel to a completely different world. But enough about me, back to you. You know, sometimes I wonder if you come back here just to get scolded. There are easier ways of getting my attention, you know. But I'm sure they're far less stimulating. You know, I'm going to allow one more checkout, but this time I'm picking the book for you. Yeah, no, I'm gonna pick the book. I know, just the one. I was just looking at it. 1 second. Alright, here it is. Just the one I was looking for. This will be perfect. It's a bit weighty. Nothing you can't handle though, right? You're up for the job. What's it called? Oh, it is called Book Preservation, a Collector's Guide. And I will be giving you another Ziploc bag. Let me put it in it right now so we do not forget. And so for this time, I would like you to write me a book report on this, all right? There is going to be a quiz. And it's going to be a little essay. And if I like it, and if you impress me, I'll allow you to come back. Are you starting to sort of understand, like, the gravity of the situation here? Good. You know what? There's one more book that I think I want to get for you. It's one of the books that really started my love of reading for me. Wait there. Here it is. First time I read this, I was in high school. I was 14. This is The Great Gatsby. Set that down there. Can put that inside the Ziploc bag. Yeah, the first time I read that, when I was 14, it really took me on a journey. And I would like for you to go on that same journey and tell me if it moves you at all. I think that all of us can, you know, relate to lost love, or perhaps feeling like we weren't good enough for someone, because that's what it has to sort of do with, you know. Gatsby was very similar to the author, Scott Fitzgerald, and his wife that he went on to marry in real life was named Zelda. She came from a very wealthy family, just like Daisy in the book, and in real life he never felt like he was good enough for her until he became a published author, and then he was able to ask for her hand in marriage. They had a very sort of tumultuous relationship. But you can see a lot of parallels in the book between his writing about Daisy and the truth of his relationship with Zelda, and just how there's certain people who we always feel are just out of our reach. You know, they're just always slightly unattainable. And I feel like he really captures the essence of that, of desiring something that we can never actually possess. And there's this interesting line in the book where he talks about, you know, how Tom's love of Daisy, that was all just personal. And it was such a curious word, because he thought that his love for Daisy surpassed the, you know, plane we all exist on, and transcended into some sort of like spiritual realm. He thought their love was sort of like predestined in the stars. And it was just very tragic, the whole thing, because Daisy was never really a bad person. She was just careless, as a lot of people are. It's not that they're evil, they just don't, think about the repercussions of their actions. Oftentimes, certain people's actions might seem malicious, but in reality, they just didn't think at all. And maybe that's even worse, the indifference, But I thought that was an interesting line about Daisy. She wasn't really a bad person, she was just careless. Careless of anyone's feelings other than her own. And it's just like the American dream. Just always chasing after this lifestyle. Always chasing after the girl, the car, everything. Trying to create this image that we think will attract people to us, that will draw them in. But that's not what's most important, is it? It's all just a facade. So, it's a beautiful book, and it's extremely well written. It's like poetry. And Scott Fitzgerald talks about, when Gatsby kisses Daisy for the first time and how she blossomed for him like a flower. It's a really extraordinarily beautiful passage. I almost feel like I should read that to you. And you want to read it yourself? No, I respect that. You're gonna really enjoy it. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about it. The thing about his love for Daisy, though, that I didn't realize when, I was reading it when I was young for the first time, is it was never really Daisy. It was what Daisy represented that he was attracted to. And it was about proving himself worthy. And I didn't really catch that at first. I really thought that they had something special, but they didn't really actually have anything special. It was all just, about proving himself worthy. And that happens so many times in life. We just set our sights on someone and, we make it our mission to win them over because we think that says something about us and validates us in some sort of way, shape, or form. People can represent a lot of things. But I know you have to get going, and I have to get back to organizing all of these books. But glad we had this little talk. I hope that you're going to take better care of the books this time, and none of them come back smelling of garlic or any other herbs or spices. You're gonna remember to keep them in the Ziploc bag. Good. I feel like, you kind of get it a little bit now. You kind of get these are sacred and special and deserve to be treated as such. It's been very nice seeing you. I expect a full book report